science, technology, engineering, mathematics and medicine, STEM skills play a critically important role in facing the greatest challenges and solving some of the biggest problems. But our current STEM workforce doesn't represent the true Australian diversity, which means we are not fully supporting our best and brightest. And that's why we need to talk about diversity in STEM.
Diversity in STEM is very important.
Diversity in STEM is incredibly important, and I'm so proud to be one of those diverse women in science here in Australia. My father's Maltese and my mum's Italian, and I represent that small minority of scientists trying to show the world that diversity is important.
But why diversity is so important?
Diversity matters in science. If we want to get the best ideas, we have to have the best minds.
And if we don't have that diversity, we'll just keep on thinking along the same lines over and over and over again, and perhaps not do the best we could do.
But it's more than that. If you want to work in an environment that's inspiring, that's welcoming, you're gonna have better ideas shared, you're just gonna have a better time. Diversity in science matters because we get the best ideas, but because we also have the best experience, and that's something we all benefit from.
I believe that coming from any culture, you're biased to think about problem in a specific way.
It's so important to have diversity in STEM, particularly I feel, including the First Nations voice. We have over 80,000 years of science experiments and so much knowledge about the connectedness between people and country.
The advantage of diversity in STEM is simply that instead of getting 5 or 10 or 20% of all the brains available to work on the problem, you get all of them 100%. What's not to like?
Because teams that are made out of people who come from different backgrounds, diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds, training, experiences, language, disabilities, all of these people bring something new and creative to solve a scientific question in a really innovative way.
Foundational skills of STEM are critical to the 21st century, and I'm delighted to think about diversity as an ecosystem of talent, capital, and actually knowledge and research capability coming from all over the world. In fact, propelling that is the possibility that Australia has today.
Here are some perspectives on why gender diversity is important.
I'm often hearing narratives that men need to be the equalisers, that they need to be supporting women in the workplace and promoting gender equality and diversity. But in saying that, we are missing 50% of the population. Women need to support other women. We all have a role in challenging bias and championing for one another just as much as the next person does.
I studied civil engineering precisely to make the point that women can and should be free to choose any line of work and study. It was a male-dominated profession in Pakistan, and there were also very few women in engineering in Australia when I moved there. Our common bond as women in STEM means we share a natural tenacity, intellectual capacity, and creativity that are sorely needed to solve the big challenges like climate crisis and inequality. I loved my work as a civil and environmental engineer on hydropower projects, water use and recycling, waste reduction, and much more. But it wasn't all easy.
Are women in STEM initiatives enough?
Although much effort is made to rectify the gender imbalance, other minority groups are often forgotten or placed in the too difficult basket. This is especially true when intersectionality is considered.
As we promote women in STEM here in Australia, it is important that we also consider the role of intersectionality within these efforts.
Diversity means understanding that each individual is different and unique and recognizing those differences.
Here at Science Space, we encourage presenters from different cultural backgrounds, different languages, different nationalities. We even have somebody on staff who speaks Australian Sign Language.
I'm quite proud to be a part of our Centre for Forensic Science at UTS, where we are incredibly diverse.
But currently, the people who work in STEM don't truly represent the societies and communities in which we live. And that's a real problem, not least because it means that we're missing out on lots of exceptional talent.
The reason I think that we lack diversity in our industries is because women and people from diverse backgrounds are constantly being subtly told that they're inexperienced, that they haven't got enough, that they need to do more, and it's just not true.
Well, to take on an intersectional approach to understand what is happening here in academia, to understand inequalities in academia, it is first to acknowledge that we all live in multiple worlds, that we all have multiple situations, complex situations that we navigate every day.
Here are some challenges that STEM professionals face and have shared with us.
Sometimes at the crime scene, I was the youngest person in an environment of just men, and yes, I was a young girl at the crime scene, so it was pretty difficult for the old men to believe in my job.
I think I would have to have worked hard, almost double than everybody else would have worked who is from the place. You don't have that big network. You have to build it kind of from scratch because you've entered into a new country.
Cultural difference would be a challenge. For a couple of years, I was studying in English, working in English, which was not my main language. So language barrier is a big challenge, at least for I don't know, 2 or 3 years.
New environment, new people, new language, new culture, new accent. Everything was new. And I was kind of worried of that.
As a female minority researcher, I find myself spending a lot of time trying to convince myself, trying to validate myself to others.
Coming to a new country and working as a scientist has been challenging for me. Barriers I've faced are culture, language, and use of local lingo.
As a woman of East Asian descent, and I look pretty young for my age and for my level of training, I am so often asked, whose PhD student are you? Or whose honors student are you? Or whose postdoc are you? And now that I have my own lab, I just kind of laugh it off and I'm like, oh well, you know, I'm in my own lab now, I have my own group.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, what should be of importance to everyone is the science that we are all out to do.
Deliberate action must be taken to dismantle structural and cultural barriers to gender inequality. We need flexible work practices without bias, equal pay, affirmative action for diversity, and universities and workplaces that are free from overt and covert sexism.
For those of us who are from diverse backgrounds or who are part of the minorities in STEM fields, we have a huge role to play in making sure that we not only improve the diversity in STEM fields, but we also maintain the levels of diversity going into the future, and we ensure that we get the best possible outcomes for our respective fields as possible.
When you bring someone from a minority, someone who's faced true adversity in their background into your team, you bring a level of strength and commitment that you just cannot get in any other way.
We need to imagine what life is like for people who are not us. And I think this helps us become better human beings, it increases our empathy, but it also helps us to have the kind of honest dialogue we need to really have the difficult technical conversations when we're producing or collaborating on research projects.
I want to see more women in STEM, more women in entrepreneurship, more women of colour, and more women in leadership roles in these areas.
I want to see women from all the countries coming forward to work in the energy sector.
That it actually takes special strength and character to give that trust, to empower someone who does not fit in your conformity. And this is what is missing at leadership levels because we do not see enough of this diversity.
I think it would be great if we didn't make assumptions about a scientist's competence or position of influence without actually meeting them and getting to know them well. I also think we should use our ability to ask questions and understand technical details about research.
I strongly believe, however, that negative cultures can be counteracted by positive actions. It's time to bring change, and we can do this together by ensuring there are visible role models representing minorities in all aspects of STEM.
Show an implicit bias that people don't think that research leaders or people who have senior positions in STEM could possibly look like me. And I think in the future I would hope that increased diversity at STEM leadership levels would mean that in the future people who look like me will not get that question anymore, at least not on the first glance.
In order to make sure that we are advancing science in a direction that helps us to build a society for a future that is not just fair, but also represents everyone regardless of their race, gender and identity.
And what does the future look like?
I hope that I encourage you and many others to be diverse and to embrace diversity here in Australia and throughout the world.
As we prepare the next generation in STEM, it is imperative that we be more intentional in our recruitment processes, that we think outside the box, and that we be more open-minded.
In 20 years' time, I think that diversity in the science community is inevitable. The world is getting smaller, and we're definitely already breaking the boundaries with who we collaborate, and I think that this kind of trend is inevitable. So I'm really looking forward to the future.
Because STEM is all about making the world a better place.
We are a country of people from diverse nations, and we are at the critical juncture where we can bring people, capital, and research capability from all over the world in this one melting pot called Australia, and create a tech sector that can create the best jobs available in the 21st century.
So let's be more open and inclusive, and let's create a STEM community that is the strongest.